Chapter 2: Long Distance Love. As the years passed, Sarah and Aidan found themselves navigating new seasons of life. Their careers flourished. Sarah's artwork began to gain recognition in major galleries, and Aidan rose to a leadership position at his tech company. They had built a comfortable life in California, surrounded by the beauty of the ocean and the warmth of close friends. But life, as always, had its ebbs and flows. As their family grew, the responsibilities and pressures of parenthood took center stage. With 2 young children, their days were filled with school runs, bedtime stories, and endless laundry. The chaos of everyday life sometimes left little room for the romance and spontaneity that had once defined their relationship. There were days when they barely had time to sit and talk, let alone have the deep, heart-to-heart conversations they once shared during their long-distance days. Yet, through it all, their bond remained unshakable. They had learned long ago how to weather the storms, how to find each other even in the most challenging times. Whenever things got overwhelming, they would carve out time to sit by the beach together, even if just for a few minutes. One evening, as the children slept and the house was finally quiet, Sarah and Aidan sat on their porch, sipping tea and watching the stars. It had been a long week, and they were both exhausted, but there was a peacefulness in the silence they shared. Aidan broke the quiet, his voice soft. "Do you ever think about those early days, when we were miles apart?" Sarah smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder. "All the time. It feels like a lifetime ago, but also like it was just yesterday. I remember waiting for your messages, staying up late just to hear your voice." Aidan chuckled. "Remember that time I flew in for your birthday and surprised you? You almost fainted when I showed up at your door. I still don't know how you managed to keep that a secret." Sarah replied, laughing softly. "Those were the moments that kept me going, knowing that no matter how far apart we were, we'd always find a way to be together." As they reminisced, they realized how much those early years had shaped the way they approached life now. The patience they had learned during their time apart was now helping them through the challenges of raising a family. The way they had communicated so openly across the miles had become the foundation of their marriage, ensuring that even in the busiest moments, they stayed connected. Just when things seemed to have settled into a comfortable rhythm, life threw another curveball. One day, Aidan came home with news. His company was expanding, and they wanted him to lead a new office in London. The news hit them like a wave, bringing back memories of their long-distance days. Moving to London would mean uprooting their entire life in California, the life they had built together, the friendships, Sarah's career, and their children's schools. It wasn't just about them anymore. It was about their family. For weeks, they discussed it late into the night. Aidan was excited about the opportunity. It was a major career move, and it came with a sense of going full circle, back to where their love story had begun. But Sarah was torn. While she loved the idea of adventure, she had established her life and career in California. Their children were happy and settled. Could they really start over in a new country? Eventually, they made the decision together they would move, but only after careful planning. Aidan took a temporary role, spending several months flying between California and London to prepare for the transition. They knew it would be difficult, but once again, they leaned on the lessons they had learned during their long-distance relationship. They communicated constantly, shared their fears and hopes, and made sure that every step was taken with love and mutual understanding. A year later, they found themselves standing in front of a new house, this time in the heart of London. The move had been challenging, saying goodbye to friends, finding new schools, and navigating a completely different culture. But it also brought with it a sense of renewal. For Aiden, it felt like returning to his roots, rediscovering the city that had shaped so much of his early life. For Sarah, it was an opportunity to reinvent herself as an artist, to bring her work to a new audience, and to draw inspiration from the rich history and culture of London. Their children, after some initial homesickness, began to thrive in their new environment, making friends and exploring the city with wide-eyed wonder. And though the move had been difficult, Sarah and Aiden found that their love only grew stronger through the experience. They spent weekends exploring the same streets they had once talked about during their long-distance video calls. They visited old cafes where Aiden had once imagined Sarah sitting with him. Now, those dreams were reality. As the years continued to pass, Sarah and Aiden realized that home wasn't tied to one place. Whether it was California, London, or somewhere in between, home was wherever they were together. Their journey had taken them across continents, through different phases of life, and through challenges they never could have anticipated. But through it all, their love had remained constant, evolving and deepening with each new experience. One evening, as they stood on the balcony of their London home, watching the city lights twinkle in the distance, Aiden turned to Sarah with a smile. "You know, I used to think distance was our biggest challenge, but now I see it was just the beginning." Sarah nodded, her heart full. "It taught us how to love without limits. No matter where we go, we'll always find our way back to each other." And with that, they knew that their love story was far from over. There would be more challenges, more adventures, and more moments of joy. But whatever the future held, they were ready to face it together, as they always had been and always would be. As time continued to unfold, Sarah and Aiden's life in London began to feel more settled. Their children were growing fast, and their once chaotic life found a new rhythm. Sarah's art had found its place in the vibrant London scene, with her work now being featured in several prominent galleries. Aiden's leadership at his tech firm was flourishing, and their days were filled with both professional success and the contentment of family life. But deep down, they both knew that life's pace would never truly slow down. Life had a way of throwing in surprises, just when you thought you had it all figured out. One evening, as they sat together after dinner, Aiden brought up an idea that had been brewing in his mind for some time. "Sarah, what would you think about traveling again? I mean, really traveling, not just short trips, but a long adventure. Taking time off, seeing the world with the kids, showing them the places we used to dream about." Sarah raised her eyebrows, intrigued but cautious. "You mean like a sabbatical? But what about the kids' school? Our jobs? Everything we've built here?" "I've been thinking about that," Aiden replied. "The kids are still young enough to adapt, and we could homeschool them for a year. You could focus on your art and find inspiration in new places. And I could work remotely when needed. It would be a break, a chance to explore the world together, something we've always talked about. The idea stirred something deep within Sarah. They had always been adventurers at heart. Their relationship built on a foundation of exploration of places, emotions, and life's possibilities. And while London had become home, the idea of showing their children the world, of rekindling their own sense of discovery, felt right. After months of careful planning, they set off on a year-long journey. They rented out their London home, packed their belongings, and embarked on an adventure that would take them across continents. From the snowy peaks of the Swiss Alps to the vibrant markets of Marrakesh, from the serene temples of Kyoto to the beaches of New Zealand, they traveled as a family, experiencing the world through fresh eyes. For the children, the world became a classroom. They learned about history while standing in ancient ruins, about geography as they crossed vast landscapes, and about culture as they immersed themselves in different ways of life. For Sarah and Aidan, it was a chance to reconnect with the sense of wonder they had once shared when they were young and falling in love from afar. During this time, Sarah's art evolved in ways she had never imagined, inspired by the beauty and diversity of the places they visited. Her work became more textured, more nuanced, reflecting the richness of the world around her. She held pop-up exhibitions in cities along the way, and her art, now more global, spoke to the universal themes of love, distance, and connection. Aidan, too, found a new perspective. Though he continued to work remotely, the change in pace allowed him to reflect on what truly mattered. He realized that life wasn't just about career success or settling in one place. It was about experiencing the world with the people you love, about constantly seeking new challenges and growth. After a year of traveling, they returned to London, forever changed by their experiences. Their children, more mature and worldly, now had a deeper understanding of the world outside their bubble. Sarah and Aidan, too, returned with a sense of fulfillment and gratitude. They had seen the world, but more importantly, they had seen each other in new ways. London, once again, became home. But this time, they knew that home was not just a place, it was the life they created together. Wherever they chose to be, they resumed their normal routines, but with a fresh perspective. Life had taken them across the globe and back, reminding them that love is an ever-evolving journey. As their children grew into teenagers, Sarah and Aidan entered another phase of life. Their days were filled with school activities, teenage drama, and the usual demands of a growing family. But they made sure to keep the spark of adventure alive. Whether through weekend getaways, spontaneous outings, or quiet nights spent dreaming of the future, they also began to invest more time in giving back. Aidan started mentoring young professionals in his field, and Sarah began teaching art to underprivileged children. Together, they supported causes close to their hearts, finding new meaning in helping others build their own dreams. But the most valuable gift they had given each other was time. Time to explore the world, to raise a family, to build careers, and to continue nurturing the love that had brought them together. And as the years went by, They realized that time was the true essence of their relationship. The time they had spent apart, the time they had spent growing together, and the time they continued to invest in their love had made all the difference. Decades later, Sarah and Aidan found themselves in a quieter stage of life. Their children had grown up and flown the nest, each embarking on their own journeys. Sarah's hair was streaked with silver now, and Aidan's once youthful face carried the lines of time. But their bond was stronger than ever. They had weathered the storms of life, faced challenges, celebrated joys, and shared adventures that spanned continents and decades. And now, as they sat side by side on their porch, watching the sunset once more, they reflected on the incredible journey they had taken together. Do you think we ever could have imagined this life when we were sending each other those late-night texts all those years ago? Sarah asked, her hand resting gently on Aidan's. Aidan smiled, a twinkle in his eye. I think we always knew, deep down, that this was where we were headed. It was just a matter of time. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, the soft sound of the waves in the distance, reminding them of the beach where it had all started. Their love, once tested by distance, had become an anchor in the ever-changing currents of life. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Sarah turned to Aidan with a knowing smile. It's been a beautiful journey, hasn't it? Aidan nodded, squeezing her hand. And it's not over yet, because love, they had learned, was a journey without end. Whether across oceans, across time, or simply across the room, they would always find their way to each other. And that, more than anything, was the greatest adventure of all.